testing and I just let it go live. So
Cool.
might as well just kind of let it run. So now we're live, and like we told you, it's a very casual conversation. So we kind of just flow right into it.
Okay.
But when we were speaking offline, I started telling you it's so inspiring to me to see where you started. And especially when in the context of the scale and the impact that you guys have at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So I would love, if you wouldn't mind, starting there and just going into your story and
Sure.
how you and Greg started the company.
Absolutely. Well, it dates back to 2008, July. To be
Good time to
exact.
start.
Yeah, that's our story, right? It dates back to 2000 about it, but there was a lot of tears shed at the same time because we both met at the Goldenberg Group, and I was there, I guess, about 4 years before he joined, and I really was taking that time to just I was a sponge, and I was just really learning everything that I could regarding development.
Mm-hmm.
And but what was nice about the Goldenberg Group is that it was a very entrepreneurial kind of place, right? So you were able, even for someone new like myself, I attended a lot of political, symposiums and meetings, and I wasn't like just sitting behind a desk, right? I was very, very active in everything that was happening there. And what I noticed was that there weren't people that looked like Greg and I, at these conferences, at these meetings, really doing what we did. There was people that were doing, flips and residential, but on a larger scale of commercial size projects, we didn't see anybody that looked like us. So, we started to just think, wow, this is kind of a problem in a city that has such a large population of people of color that we're not in this real estate, industry the way that we should. Started to just think a lot of wealth has been generated in real estate development.
Definitely.
And it's job creation. It's making sure that neighborhoods that have not had investment and have been marginalized. And, we go in and out of those neighborhoods often. One, because we might have family there. We may have friends there. Like, we connect with a lot of the neighborhoods in which we work in because we know people there, right? They look like us. So in 2008, Greg and I just really decided that this was really more of a calling for us. It was bigger than just doing real estate development. We wanted to make sure that the knowledge that we had gained, that we could share that with other people that look like us. So we stepped out on faith. July of 2008, everything went to crap. October, November, right?
Yeah, that has to be like probably the worst timing ever to start a development company.
My God,
Or the best. You never know. Everything's up from there.
That is
true. That is true. I think it felt the worst initially. Yeah. The sting of it was crazy.
Yeah, how did that feel? Did you have like second thoughts? Was it a little bit nerve-wracking?
Heck yeah, we had second thoughts. But when you're so passionate about something and committed to something, and it's something bigger than you, you dig deep.
It wasn't just bottom line for you. It was a mission.
It wasn't. It was a mission.
Yeah.
It was a mission. So we struggled from 2008 to 2011. Like, it was a struggle. We took that time to try to build the portfolio. There were some RFPs that hit the street that we responded to. One in particular was a neighborhood organization had control of some land near Temple, and they really wanted to do something a bit different than just having Temple come in and kind of take over the land and continue to expand into the neighborhood. So we responded. I think it was 5 respondents to the RFP, and they really liked our proposal. And we said, let's bifurcate the land. Let's dedicate half of it for community development, do affordable housing. But on that other half, let's go with the highest and best use. Let's go with student housing, but you are an owner in the project. You generate revenue from that half of the project that'll help you to do other community initiatives. So that was something that had never been proposed
Interesting.
to that organization or just a lot of neighborhood organizations. Because to be honest with you, most developers are looking to just come in, develop, make their money, and keep moving, right?
What made you guys think of that? Like that's
because we're always thinking of the neighborhood first also, which I think differentiates ourselves from most for-profit development companies, right? You do have some not-for-profit organizations that are doing work within the neighborhoods, but they're funded differently, you know. So for us, our first priority has got to be making money, right? Because we're a for-profit entity. We also have to make our investors money. But in that, there's room to make sure that there's a mission also. So, do you maybe not make as much as some of our other developers that are, you know, our comrades? Yeah, that's possible, right? But we're making sure that the neighborhoods in which we are working, they're benefiting from this. They're not getting, and a lot of neighborhoods feel disrespected. They feel like developers just kind of come in, kept out of the conversation. You know, they've suffered through, and a lot of, and they do want to share. They want to be able to be a part of the dialogue and what comes and all of that, right? So we've been from day one very open to all of that, very transparent, very open with the community. And we'll even tell them when something's not going to work, right? On one site at 7th and Lehigh, it was an old school that had been closed and shuttered for about 12 years, and it now had become like this drug-infested, you know, just a real problem for the community. And we said, you know what? It's sitting on Lehigh Avenue. It's a commercial corridor. We should tear this building down and make a community shopping center, because it was also a food desert. No grocery. It's a commercial. So we went and we had, you know, several community meetings wanting to get input from them, get their buy-in, and something that someone had said to us was, let's bring a Trader Joe's. Now, input from them, get their coming to 7th and Lehigh. You know, that the way that they review demographics, the kind of salaries and incomes that they want and where they actually place their stores just didn't meet the criteria for this neighborhood. So we were very honest with them, right? All right, we're not going to be able to get a Trader Joe's. But what we will do, we know that limited service food grocery would work here. We know the players, right? We know there's Save a Lot. At that time, there was, oh my goodness, it was a new one coming in, and the name is slipping my mind.
Aldi or?
It wasn't Aldi. They came and they went, and we didn't think they were going to have staying power. But what we did do, we used them to really help negotiate a better deal with Save a Lot.
Nice.
But we also brought Save a Lot to the community and said, look, these are our concerns, and we share the concerns. Your stores, your older stores, are not very well maintained. They don't have fresh meat, you know, in regards to, everything's frozen, right? They really want fresh packaged meat. We want produce, really very healthy and an abundance of produce. So we brought Save a Lot to the community so the community could actually share their concerns of stores in what people would know as marginalized neighborhoods. And they responded, and they, you know what? They changed their format. It was the first store that Save a Lot had fresh packaged meat. They actually had an extended offering of produce. The store was
amazing.
Beautiful, right?
So that was part of the deal, essentially. Like, hey, you guys can come in, but we want this.
It was part of the deal.
I got to imagine most of the time when you're putting in that level of effort, like, and now with your reputation, you gotta have,
it was part.
It seems like you mostly have community buy-in almost on every project, I would say.
For the most part, we definitely do. Now, there's sometimes we still get some pushback. We've noticed, and Greg and I talk about it. For those who don't know, Greg's my partner. We talk about it a lot. Communities have become very much more outspoken since COVID. Because everything now is virtual. You can kind of plug in. Just kind of
easier to be outspoken.
Easier to be
less
outspoken.
resistance.
Right,
yeah.
right. So we still get some pushback, but what I will say is that for the most part, neighborhoods have not typically seen developers that look like us.
Yeah.
So there's even if we start with some animosity because they don't trust right out the gate, right? They start to hear our dialogue, our conversation, and first thing that they're amazed that we're even there, right? Because this is atypical. This is not what they normally see. And then the walls do start to come down a bit more because we're connecting on a different level that probably most of the other developers are not able to do, and several of them are not willing to take the time to do either. So yes, we do get, for the most part, some pretty solid community buy-in. But we do a lot of community engagement to make sure that happens. You know, we go to neighborhood meetings. We go to the religious institutions that are in those communities. We tap in to the stakeholders there, and they lead us as to where we really need to go. And we listen, which is critical.
Brought to you by OCF Realty. OCF Realty is a Philadelphia-based real estate brokerage providing comprehensive services in property management, leasing, home buying and selling, and real estate development. You can find us at ocfrealty.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook.
So this is even before you have any project or anything.
Yeah.
You're just saying you're just involved in the community.
Absolutely.
What about a project like that one on Lehigh? Like, did you purchase it first and then go with the community, or how does that?
Yeah, it's a great
look?
question. So very interesting story for the one on Lehigh, because that was our second project. Now,
Is this the one with the 66?
Yes, that's part of it.
Because I would
Yes.
love if you can
Yeah,
tie that in as well. I think that's a
absolutely.
really cool story.
I absolutely will. So we started the company in 2008. Didn't have a whole lot of money. Put our 401ks in. Scary stuff. But typically,
bought in.
Yeah, exactly. But typically, development companies are funded by friends and family. That's that first soft money that they're able to secure to give them some dollars to, like, get architects and deposits on land and things of that nature. Well, history shows we just don't have the friends and families that have that kind of capital to be able to put in. So for 7th and Lehigh, the school had been on the market for years at $2.5 million, right? We went to the school district and said, there is no way we can spend $2.5 million. It really doesn't make sense based upon what we ultimately want to do here. The numbers just don't work. We can offer $600,000. But we also need you to hold the mortgage.
Yeah. Nice.
Right? So we went with all kinds of crazy asks.
Might as well
right?
swing for the fences.
Swing
There you
for
go.
the fences, right? The worst they could say would be no,
Yeah.
right? But we told them what the plan was, right? All right, this is a whole city block. We can tear down what is now a real problem for the school district, right? You're trying to make sure that this is not unsafe in this community.
Because at that time it was blighted too. It was vacant and it was
vacant for 12 years. It was a
Yeah.
mess.
Mhm.
It was a
Crazy.
mess. We're trying
They
to
had to
make
have
sure that school district police go there to make sure they're, people weren't staying in the building, because they were. They had squatters. It was a mess. So we said, we can tear it down. We can replace it with a community shopping center, with a grocery store, food desert. And then 3, we would maintain that annex building in the back for an affordable housing project. And we thought, how wonderful to really celebrate the history of that particular location, because for those of you who don't know, it was the only high school that had the most deaths in Vietnam War.
in the whole country,
In
right?
the whole country.
That's
Right.
crazy.
You had a lot of people just joining the military to get out of the
Despair of the neighborhood, to get out of the gangs and all of that stuff that was, happening at the time. So we wanted to make sure we did something that really memorialized that and really just highlighted that there were so many people that committed their lives and lost them in Vietnam. So the annex building that we did not tear down and we maintained ended up being 66 units, primarily for vets that were transitioning out of homelessness. And they have support services on the first floor. So there's jobs, there's mental health, all of that was being offered on site at that facility.
And the 66 units were kind of an homage to the 66
Of the
lives
60,
that's
of
how-
the 64, it was
Mhm.
64 people that died, but we ended up with
Add an extra
66
couple.
units. We
Yeah.
had a couple extra, but it definitely was too. And we have a historic marker there now. Also, we wanted to make sure that was a part of it as well.
Yeah.
But it really all worked out really well, because the residents of the building also were getting some of the jobs at the community shopping center. So now they're just walking to their work, and so it all really kind of worked together.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Really
So that
cool.
was a really kind of unique start to that project. And just one other thing I wanted to note, we went to the reinvestment fund. Now it's the reinvestment fund. They got rid of the. I just learned that on
Nice.
Friday.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're kind of their new logo
Branding.
and stuff, their new branding. And we said to them, we need some money. Like, we need to put some money down to the school district to hold the building. We need to get an architect to do some initial designs. So they provided us with our first loan that would be converted into a grant if we were able to complete the project with an anchor grocery store, because they were using food trust money to bring in grocery into a food desert. So
Wow.
that was, and
That's really creative.
indicative of our entire journey of
Yeah.
having to be creative, because we just didn't have the resources that a typical developer would have getting started. So we had to be very creative.
I think it's great, though, if you look at your holistic approach, not just focused on the development or the profit side, but how to engage the community. I think a lot of developers can look to that as that should be part of the planning process, not necessarily something extra. How to engage. Fast forward now, we're sitting here at the beautiful Navy Yard. There's a tremendous amount of growth and development happening here. I'd love for, you to just tell us a little bit about, kind of how you guys specifically got in here and how you were able to kind of tie the community impact here as well.
Absolutely. No, I'm so glad that you asked the question, because on its surface, it looks so different than anything else we've done. If you look at our other projects, you can see the lack of investment that has occurred in those neighborhoods over decades of time. You come down here, and you all even said it, right? It's an oasis.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's clean. The PIDC does a wonderful job managing this entire Navy Yard, which just makes it welcoming to come here every day.
It is like literally as you're talking, there's like birds
There's
flying
birds
from tree to
flying.
tree outside.
Freshly
It's so
cut.
beautiful. It's crazy.
It is. I'm seeing them. Exactly, right? You'll see kids from time to time in the parks, and we've got
Everybody's happy.
20 acres of just parks down here.
Yeah.
And it's just open air. It's the oxygen. It's the trees. Like, it's just very different
You
than
immediately get like calmer.
you
like,
get calmer immediately, right? So for us, for Mosaic, this is an opportunity to make sure that development is done equitably down here, so that not just people that of our higher economics are going to only benefit from this, but it's going to benefit any and everybody, right? So we bring that lens, we bring that sensitivity to the development. Hats off to PIDC, though. When they issued the RFP, there was a portion of it that really required that there be diversity in the ownership level of the project. And that's a game changer. A portion of it.
Before or after you guys got involved?
This was before.
Nice.
Yes, they issued it in the RFQ. And
So
and
what?
it
Can you just
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
explain
fine.
what that
A portion
looks
of
like
it that
for just people that
This
may
was
not
before.
understand.
Nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. So PIDC, which is the Philadelphia Industrial Development Corporation, for those that don't know, it's a quasi-governmental agency. It's half Chamber of Commerce, half City of Philadelphia that controls the entity. They actually also manage and own the Navy Yard. They bought it from the Navy, as you'll see on the timeline, many, many years ago. The first stage of development, they selected Liberty Property Trust, and they were the developer of choice for about 10 years. And then they decided to kind of get out of the office business and focus on industrial, which opened up the opportunity for about 10 years. RFQ, which is called a request for qualifications, for a new developer to come in and do like the next 15 to 20 years of development down here. PIDC issued this document. The initial one was really asking people for their level of interest and their ability to really move forward with a project of this size and scope. Had about 35 responses to the RFQ. It got narrowed down to 5 of the 35 to respond to the more robust RFP process, which is you're now looking at the breadth of this and suggesting and coming up with potential plans for the buildings, for the land. Robust. It was a very in-depth process. We had to bring in an architect and a planner, all of these entities to respond.
This is a significant investment on your part.
Significant investment up front before you're even selected.
Like your plan that you're presenting sounds like it has to be really comprehensive to be considered at this stage, especially narrowing from 35, which is a lot of people for this size of project, all the way down to 5. Like at that point.
Absolutely. And that 35 came from nationwide.
Right.
I mean,
were you confident the whole time?
Not the whole time, but you know what? I will say, I think Ensemble and Mosaic just made an awesome team in responding. And the other thing is, it was all through COVID. Like, we did all of this planning through, Zoom and Teams, and they're based on the West Coast. We're based here. But we really, with all of those, I guess, things working kind of against you, brought us, I think, even closer together, because you had to work to get over some of those things to make it all come together. But I think PIDC, well, I don't think, we know, PIDC was most impressed with our diverse approach to the development. How we were very upfront, very solid in our response. And they were looking for that. So
could you talk about, I guess, specifically, like what you guys
other
did?
than just the ownership aspect, because, I'm curious, how does one create a plan that looks like that?
Absolutely. And this is where I think Mosaic really was very helpful to the team, right? Because the one thing that we said is very important is that you have to require your teams that you select to do this, right? You've always heard of best efforts, right? And that's kind of been the language that has been used for years about trying to make sure that your construction teams are diverse, that you're making, strides with MBE and WBE companies, minority businesses, and women business enterprises. But when you require it from your prime, and if they want this work and they want this job, they're going to go the extra mile to make allowances and be creative and come up with ways to make sure that smaller MBE and WBE teams are going to be able to be creative and come up. And we brought the approach that we're not just going to focus on the construction component. You need to have it during professional services. We spend a lot of money on architects and engineers and attorneys and master planners. Don't just try to make the diverse spend just at the construction level. Let's do it from every part of the development cycle. So you got ownership, with Mosaic being partnered with Ensemble. We selected a master planning team, and we hit 50% participation of MBE, WBE on all of our individual projects that we do down here. That's always what we're striving for as well. And we've been very, very successful. And then we also, even in our investors, our latest project of the 614 residences, and I know Brian will probably go into a lot more detail, the equity, the $100 million that needed to be raised for that project was through a black-owned investment firm. And they invested their dollars, and they were also able to bring MetLife alongside them to bring the entire $100 million.
Wow.
That is, I don't know if that's ever been done, somewhere else in the country.
Wow.
To have a leading minority firm bring all of the equity to a project of that size and scope. So we go the extra mile. Does it take a little bit more time? Does it call for a little bit more creativity? Does it call for us to put our foot down and really kind of push people? Absolutely it does. But if you have a developer that's diverse at the ownership level, that allows for a lot of that to happen. And I think that's missed. And I'm so grateful that PIDC had the forethought to add that as really a requirement in the RFP that they issued, because they wanted to push the envelope there.
Now, when you started, this is what I find so awesome. You started with this mission to, by all accounts, have been wildly successful in accomplishing. It's kind of a personal curiosity. I'm just wondering if you faced any instances along the way where you could have sacrificed your values for profit and chose not to, and how that strengthened your resolve.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's another great question. So as we
like to clip this. I appreciate that. We're like, clip. Oh, great question. Wow, I can't.
Never been
nicely
asked
done.
before.
Yeah. So I appreciate that.
No, they're really
We didn't
good.
tell her to do it.
No, they're really, really good. And it's so funny. So let's see. So maybe around 2018, track record had been established. We've been in this for 10 years. We now have projects we can point to. We started getting approached by some folks to invest in us, right? Because we did want that. We wanted to do more. We wanted to grow in scale. We wanted to grow our core company. And for 10 years, it was Greg and I. And we relied on, third-party architects and so forth. But in regards to the core company, we wanted to grow our Greg and I. We didn't sleep.
Can't at that point.
It was crazy.
Too much to do.
Yeah. So we wanted to get an infusion of investment into the company so we could hire people, that we could actually start to grow the company. And we started to have conversations with several potential investors. And, Greg always says you gotta understand and respect the power of no, because there were investors that wanted to come in, just change us. They didn't want us to be mission focused anymore. They just wanted us to do, because they knew that we had really honed skills in creative financing mechanisms. Like, we've used new market tax credits in so many of our projects, and that is an infusion of federal dollars that come in to certain neighborhoods, census tracts, and the investors get a tax credit. So there's like a 7-year tax benefit for the investors that do this. And we've done this in I think a very, not unique, but a very successful way, where we were leveraging a program that was specifically more based for commercial businesses, but you can leverage it to include residential. So we've done multiple mixed income, mixed use projects using that finance mechanism. So people could see that we're smart within the industry, right? So we started having conversations, but they wanted to change us. And we just were not, we were immovable on our mission, right? This is
You
something
turned down
that,
some profitable
absolutely,
partnership opportunities.
No question, no question.
I always
But-
respect that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, but finally we had, it was so interesting, for our Sharswood Ridge project, which is a $55 million project that we finished in
Appreciate it.
2022
Yeah,
but finally at 21st and Ridge. Mixed income, mixed use, anchored by, again, a grocery store, has health, has finance, financial services with a Santander Bank. We've got fitness center. Like, we try to hit all of the main needs of a community, whether it's fresh foods, whether it's health. You don't want check cashing places. You want banks. You want wellness things to be a part. And then we had 98 apartments. So we were looking for opportunity zone investors for that project. And we had actually been working with Josh Harris and his team, because we were working on a bid for the arena on Penn's Landing. And we approached him and said, do you have any opportunity zone money? He's like, yeah, we do. So they actually invested in our Sharswood Ridge project. And so then he came to the grand opening, Josh did, and he was amazed, because when you have a project of that magnitude in a community where you've engaged them, they've been a part of the process, they came out strong. It was like, it was a party, but yet it was almost like religious
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of experience.
amazing.
It was
That they
unbelievable.
wanted you there. They appreciated
There you
the
go.
investment.
They
yeah.
totally appreciate, and what they truly appreciated, something that they asked us, they said, we would love to see a person of color be the operator of the grocery store, because that's another thing that you don't often see, that in these communities, businesses that look like them, right? So we said, all right, we're going to try. That might be a tough one, but we're with you. Let's see what we can do. So Grocery Outlet is actually the grocery store that's, it was a new concept coming out from the West Coast, and they look for owner-operators of the kind of local communities when they can. So we brought that up to them very early on. We really would love to make this happen here. This would be just an amazing story for the community. Lo and behold, there was someone internal, an engineer, that was a part of the company, but when he realized where the store was opening up, he had family that lived in that neighborhood.
Nice.
His family literally rallied behind him, came up with the capital investment for him to become the owner-operator of that store.
Wow.
29-year-old African-American
29,
male.
nice. Good for
That
him.
his family was from that community. So you can only imagine that at the grand opening
Yeah.
was just unbelievable.
I can
right?
imagine.
So
Yeah.
Josh is there, and he's like, well, how can you do more of this?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
This is amazing.
I
We're
think that's like what's-
money,
yeah.
capital, right?
Yeah.
This is what we need. So
I think that's what's like missed sometimes is like with the DEI conversation is like a lot of this the growth that ends up happening and the people that end up working these jobs in the construction and development now is people that are part of this community. That conversation changes now to more inclusion.
absolutely, because it's all part of the cycle,
And
right?
development
because you
now.
are going to now employ people from that neighborhood. You're going to have people that are going to end up taking those full-time jobs that are being generated by the tenants. Now we're also trying to get diverse end users that, the tenants that are going to actually be there to be diverse. So it affects so many things, right? And it starts to positively impact poverty as well, because now you're bringing opportunity to these neighborhoods, right? And that's why I really, and Greg and I appreciated the question from Josh, like, how do you do more of this, right? And we shared with them, it's really access to capital. We need to grow our own company because two people can only do so much, on an annual basis. These projects take a long time. The projects that we specifically have been working on also need different sources of capital to come in, grants and low interest loans and new market tax credits and low income housing tax credits. And they all take a long time.
Yeah.
So he invested in our company in 2022. Now we've grown from 2 to 10, and we're a mighty 10. We call ourselves the Navy SEAls of real estate.
Everyone's a
we're
specialist.
lean and mean, and we're
yeah.
Hey,
specialists.
now it really fits too at the
awesome.
Navy Yard.
Yeah,
There you go.
Right,
That's
right.
terrific.
So that's what we consider ourselves, right?
Amazing.
But
Yeah.
it really has catapulted us in a way to do more of what we're doing. But what we so appreciate is that he wasn't trying to change. He just wanted to enhance and give more opportunity for that kind of work to be done. So it's been great.
Really cool.
It's been great.
It's awesome.
Well, I want to be respectful of time. Do we want to jump to like
Maybe
the last?
just the last one, I think,
Yeah.
just because we've already kind of gone over, which
Yeah.
we
Okay.
appreciate.
Okay.
Yeah,
your
no,
time,
this
but
was great.
Really
It's
cool.
been great.
Yeah, fire away.
Yeah, so same question we like to ask everybody, and the diversity in answers is always amazing. So if you just lost all of your network, your connections, you lost all of your assets, all of your financial resources, and you were going to restart today in Philadelphia in today's climate and environment, how would you start?
It's a good one. It's a good one. And I honestly, as crazy as it might sound, I would be doing the same work. I mean, I can't say that I would do anything differently. It would be hard, because the energy that you need, the resolve, at 58 years old right now, seems like a lot.
Mhm.
But
The
this is where my heart
resolve.
is, at 58, and I don't see myself slowing down, and I can't really see myself doing anything else. The only other thing I would do is just like be a grandparent to my 2-year-old granddaughter.
That's a good answer too. There you go.
Which she's just my heart for
There
sure.
you go.
But if we had to still do something work related, it would be this.
Perfect.
It would be this. It changes lives. It
Yeah.
really does.
Absolutely.
Really does.
Well, I thank you so much again for coming on, and we really appreciate everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank
Yeah, it's
you.
a great conversation. We appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you.
Yes, this is fun. My first podcast.
Well, we are honored that it
We
was
are honored.
Well, thank you for asking me on. I appreciate it.
All right,
All
thanks.
right. Take care.